Well, hello everybody, and welcome again to your live Q&A call on the Investment Dominator. I'm Warren Davis, and I'll be facilitating this call this afternoon. I just want to do a quick sound check, as well as make sure that your audio and visual are working as expected, and that you can see my Investment Dominator screen over here. If you can, just give me a reply. Excellent. Okay, there's a lot of you are in the house, and we are going to go on and kick it off. Just want to say welcome to all of you today, and just want you to know that we're here to support you in your respective businesses and address all your questions regarding the Investment Dominator primarily. And we're also going to deal with any questions you have about the land profit generator. We do thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us. Your questions are extremely valuable. They help a lot of individuals, so we do appreciate you asking them and being on the call. So again, I stated my name is Warren Davis, and I am like you, I'm a fellow land profit generator student. We've been with Jack's organization approximately 2 years. And I can honestly say this business has changed our life. I've shared a few times that we were in the real estate area, or in the real estate market, in the real estate business. We were at the time flipping houses, and unfortunately, we never made any money flipping any houses. And we would spend many hours each night working to try to get deals, but did not get any deals. My background is primarily IT, so I'm looking to kind of transition out of that area and just be more in the people contact business. But in any case, we weren't doing very well in the housing market. So when we came over to the land profit generator system, and we began to use that Jack system, as well as use this powerful CRM in the Investment Dominator, we finally started making some money. And so that's one reason why I'm extremely pleased to be here with you today. Once you know that this CRM works in concert with the land profit generator system, it allows a lot of customization, but it's primarily to be used with the land profit generator system. Now, as you can see, I have my screen up. It says, send me your questions. I can see your questions, and we do have one question that has already come in that we will answer right after my first tutorial. So we'll make sure we get those questions answered. And any other questions that you have, we'll hopefully keep them around the current subject at hand. But we want you to know that if your questions aren't answered right away, we will get to them either at some point on the call, or they will definitely be answered by the next call. But we'll try to get all of your questions answered here today. I'm fortunate to have with us all of you that are currently here and giving me a thumbs up that we are all systems a go. So we want to start with answering your questions. And we had a question that came in a while back that has come up a few times. Now, it's kind of a semi-common question. It's not something that happens all the time. But an individual wanted to know, how do you delete all of the records from your latest import from the system? And I know that Eileen has already written a question regarding when importing around importing. So we were going to address that as soon as we're done with this short tutorial here. So the question, how do you delete all the records from your latest import from the system? If you were to do an import, this is the way I every week put in records into Investment Dominator, or load them into Investment Dominator, so they go to a place called ITI, or letterprinting.net. So all of my neutral letters go out each week, as scheduled. So we would choose a file here that we want to download. But even before I do that, I want to make sure you see on our land deal screen here, put that in full view. There we go. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 records here that we're dealing with, just a screen full of records. Now, a lot of times you export, we export maybe hundreds of records, or excuse me, import hundreds of records at a time. So when you're importing, it could be a large file. Here for this particular demonstration, we're going to import 5 here. So we choose our file, which is a CSV file or an Excel file, and we're going to upload this into Investment Dominator. So it says I got 6 records imported successfully. And of course, if you went back, you would see these records imported, these new records imported into the system, into the Investment Dominator. Let's see here, make sure. And we'll choose another file here. This one will have 10 records. And we upload the list. It's going to put it in prospect status. Any duplicates, of course, will not be imported, but just added an additional 2 records. Now, I've imported, you see I've imported a couple of times, and the last import, for some reason, if I change my mind, I say, oh, I didn't want to do that last import. I didn't want to really import those records. I can go up here to the top where you see it says My Team, and I'm going to click on that. And that's anyone that's allowed to log into your Investment Dominator at the time. This is your team. And in order to find those records, I'm going to look in our activity log over here to the right. And over here to the right, I'm just writing down question 1. Okay, you see here that my last import was on today at 12:06 p.m. So I added this by importing a list, and you'll see here under record that there are these 8 land deals, 8 newly land deals got added. Now I'm going to always look on this question mark to see the records, the actual records. This is the ID that I want to select. Now this is a range, so it's records number 40 through number 47. That's going to correspond with an ID as we go back to our land deals. You'll see that. But for right now, you have to write this down, this range number down. There is going to come a time, as we're going to do an update to the Investment Dominator, where this will be more in a dynamic mode where you'll be able to select this range of numbers. But right now, you write down number 40 through 47, and this was our last import. We'll go back here to the land deals, and we want to select just those records that were in that last import. So in order to do that, I want to select by the ID range. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to search. I'm going to search by property ID range, and I think I said 40 through 47. Is that what I said? It's important to have a good memory here to I'm just going to check. I'm just going to double check that. So we had 40 through 47. Okay. So I come back here. I'm going to go property ID range 40 through 47. Okay. And now I'm going to do a search. And that's going to bring into the Investment Dominator, if you will, Investment Dominator buffer, those records that I selected in my search. And those are the only records that are going to appear. So if you can imagine, you might have 200 or 300 records at one time that you want to delete from the last import. So this, of course, will be a screen full. Now, in order to select just those records that I brought into my buffer, I'm going to hit Select All. And you see it highlights all of these records that I want to delete from that last import. And at that time, all the records will be highlighted. You simply go over to your corresponding delete function, all within this box here, and say delete. There should be a confirmation comes up, 8 records selected. I confirm that delete, and close. And so now, as you can see, those records that were selected are now deleted. In order to get back to where you can see all of your other land deal records, it's important for you to clear your search. And they're all back again. So that's basically how you would delete records from your latest your latest import. And if we went back and we looked at our activity log, it's a great CRM because it tells you basically, it keeps a log of everything that you did in an Investment Dominator session. This is a really intuitive CRM, so I really do appreciate the work and the professionalism that has gone into this particular tool. So we had the question from Eileen: when importing a list, there's not a place for name of owner number 2. That doesn't matter, and I think we do have an update that's coming, so I'm going to let my esteemed colleague Alex handle that one.
All right, hey guys, I'm also on the call here. Thanks, Warren. Let me see. Let me change the screen over to mine if we can. And let's see. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to share my screen and audience view. Okay, I think you guys can see my screen. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and answer Aleen's question because we actually did an update to the system. I believe it was yesterday. Early yesterday, and I haven't yet got around to updating all of the user guide articles, although I have updated the import. And I wanted to go over this with you because I haven't, all of the changes that we made in the last couple of days is not yet reflected on the user guide, but I want to explain them because it does answer Aleen's question about the second owner on file. But I want to answer it in a couple ways. So we don't normally import the record with all of the owners. So let's say that a property has 3 different owners on title or 4 different owners on title. We would, in the initial import that when we send out the neutral letter, we don't put all 4 owners on that CSV file. We only require the 1 owner, okay? So that's why when you're looking at our import fields, you see that the only field here, if it's an individual, that's required is the first name and last name. So this works for like care of people. If there's a care of person that's in charge of the property, but it's actually owned by somebody else, we would put the care of person. And because remember, in the land profit generator, we're sending them a neutral letter first. We're not trying to send them an offer first. There is an advanced strategy where we make a blind offer, but that's not the core strategy. And it's definitely something you don't want to do right out of the gate unless you understand how that fits in. But for your average land profit generator deal, you only want to import 1 name, and regardless of if there's 4 people that own the property. Now you might ask yourself, okay, well, aren't you loading data that therefore is going to be incorrect? And the reason why we don't necessarily care about the full owner's name is because we actually do things in stages. So when at the stage that the person contacts you and it becomes an offer request, this is what we call the pending preliminary research stage. And at that point, as part of that preliminary research, you're going to want to pull the actual file with the county and see who owns the property. So that's why in the beginning, we never had a field called owner's owner's name, second owner's name, things like that. We never had these 4 fields. This is actually these are the 4 fields that we added just this week, and they're still optional. And the reason why they're optional is because you don't really need these for the reasons I just explained. You only need these fields if you're doing an advanced strategy, which is a blind offer strategy. And don't confuse that with the neutral letter because it's a very different strategy. You don't want to be making blind offers in an area that you're unsure of. So I just want to kind of differentiate there. And that's the reason why in the beginning we only had first name, last name. Since this week, our update this week, you can import it as an optional field. I would still recommend not doing that unless you plan to do a blind offer strategy. And so when you actually put in the second owner's name and the first owner's name and things like that, at that point, you're dealing with properties that are in the offer requests stage, which the status for that is called pending preliminary research. And at that point, again, you want to verify everything with the county because, can it happen that you get a list from the county, let's say this week, and then it takes 2 weeks for you to mail out the letter, and then it takes another week for the owner to call you back, and by that time, has the owner sold the property? That's a very rare case, but you don't want to risk that scenario where you all of a sudden you're making an offer to an old owner and it doesn't even own the property anymore. So you always want to check the ownership of the property before you make the offer right at that time. You don't want to go off of that county extracted data that you got that might be a couple months old. We use our list, for example, for an entire year. So we'll get if we get a big county we're working, we'll get a list, and then for the entire year we'll work that county. So that means that there's a possibility that in that time period, a certain percentage, a small percentage, but a certain percentage will already have sold their property. And so we always kind of differentiate those two statuses. And then I just want to address one other question that came in as a follow-up question to what Warren just showed when he was talking about the activity log. Let's see, Scott, I believe, asked if on the activity log, so if we go back to the activity log here, my team activity log, if we can just delete the record here, which would delete all these imported records. That is not the case. So you actually don't want to do that. But what you're doing here when you hit delete is you're actually deleting the history, the task. Okay, and this is only allowed for admins anyways, but in the system. But yeah, if you hit delete here, you're just deleting the history. You're not actually deleting the records. We do have an undo feature for some actions, but it's very limited to, like, for example, if you accidentally delete one record, you could go back into the activity log and undo it. But if you add a new record and you hit delete from the activity log, it's just going to delete the history. Hopefully that makes sense, because this, when you're on land deals here, you're looking at the property table here. But when you're on the previous screen here, you're looking at activities. So you definitely don't want to delete those. And I'll kick it back over to you, Warren, and you can finish up this call. I just wanted to chime in on this new import update here, because I haven't yet got everything updated. But also, just real quick, we aside from these owner fields that we added, we also added the zoning. You can now import the zoning information. Again, it's not really needed, but we did have a lot of requests from people that are doing some other strategies. So you can now import the zoning field as well as the offer acceptance dates, like the offer option accept by, the expiration dates, which is your contract expiration date. You can now set these ahead of time. And again, this is only going to really help people that are doing the blind offer strategy. For everybody that's following the core technique, you don't need to worry about any of that. It's all built into the system. We generate these dates for you. But once you get into more advanced stuff, this becomes helpful here. So we did add that along with these owner fields. All right.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So, okay. Excellent. Okay, there we are. We're back again. And everybody can see my Investment Dominator screen again. Trust everybody seeing that. And we do have another question that did come in by Basir, which is, what is the best way to put the signature in custom document for offer sale agreement? And we may have Alex come back on and address that one. I'll look into that one right now. We're going to move ahead into another question that came in that we want to make sure we get addressed as well. Just hang on, Basir. We'll get back to that. The other question that came in was regarding Craigslist accounts, and we did have a few questions from the last meeting regarding Craigslist. And the question was regarding Craigslist accounts, do you have to have a different phone number for each account? And the answer to that is no, you really don't need to have a different number for each account, but you may want to change up the way the number appears on your actual Craigslist listing. And I kind of have an example of what I'm talking about here. Everybody can see this is my little notepad. So rather than have a different number, this is something I found that we had to do several times, is just change the formatting of numbers. You can see this number here is formatted, with 5x5 dash, and you may have the same number on another listing for your land that may come out with just this format without the dashes. Or you could have a number with the parentheses around, the prefix of the number, and then you have the number. Or you could have the, a combination of the parentheses and the dashes, or you could have a 1 in front of it. So this gives you an idea. You could have the same number, same digits, but of course change up the format. And I believe, so far as I remember with Craigslist, that would actually look to Craigslist as though it is a different phone number. So I believe they do track a lot of the activity on Craigslist by the various phone numbers that are there. And so hopefully that answers that question regarding Craigslist and how you should format your numbers. Now, I just wanted to make sure I get that notation here. Let's see. Okay. So, if there's no more questions regarding that particular issue, another question that came in regarding mailing list. And the question has to do with an individual saying they were very good at getting or receiving mailing lists or creating mailing lists. They now have 4 different mailing lists. For example, for someone who doesn't have a lot of time to stuff envelopes and do letters, how do you handle that? So if you don't have time to stuff envelopes and do letters, this is an excellent question, because we do have a service that you can utilize. As a matter of fact, my wife and I, we utilize this, is letterprinting.net. Before I go into that, I just want to call your attention to our help feature and our user guide that you can search. And I believe that if you just type in, I'll just look for a good keyword here. Direct mail, that may give us what we're looking for. So I just typed in direct mail, and I came to this article, or these instead of instructions, how you can actually process. Now what you have to do is scroll down a little bit, and you'll read something. You'll come to a place where you can say how to use letterprinting.net. And I'm only referencing this so that you can pull information on your own to answer some of your questions. A lot of articles have already been written and are in your user guide. You have access to this, and it shows you here how to set up a direct mail campaign with letterprinting.net. Now I'm going to go into some more detail here on the call for you, just so that you can see how it works. We use this every week, and one of the components that you have to send letterprinting.net, which is a service that will help take your neutral letters and mail them out to all of the potential individuals in the marketplace that you might want to mail to that you want to buy their property. So for you to get your contracts to purchase their property, you have to send out your neutral letters. And so this particular aspect, or this part of this particular instructions, show you how to generate documents, how to create your CSV file, excuse me, which is your Excel file that you're going to send to letterprinting.net. And it does have a series of just instructions that you can read, you know, step by step. So to generate and create your letterprinting.net, I'm going to go into more detail. There'll be 3 files that you have to send to letterprinting.net. And I'm going to show you what those files look like. And we're going to actually go in and see a real account with letterprinting.net. But I just want to make sure you know you can come to this user guide area here and search for your particular instructions on how to set up your mailing campaign. So what we'll do is I'm actually want to sign in here to letterprinting.net. There it is. And so when you first originally come to this particular screen, if you have a logon, or if you just want to log in or register, you know, you can just go here and let's see. I'm gonna log in. And I remember when we set up this account, I just want you to know the people at letterprinting.net, they're extremely helpful. So you can call them directly. They'll walk you through anything that you need to have them walk you through. And we have an account set up with them. I'll tell you, this is invaluable. But as you see, you log in. So once you either can create an account, you can log in, and you can place a brand new order. And the previous user guide article that I showed you, you know, shows you how you can determine which type of order you want to place. But we have an existing amount of orders that we do every single week. And so we can come here to where it says view saved quotes, because we've already selected all of the parameters that we want for our letters, our neutral letters that are going to go out every week. And this is an example. So I'm not going to take time to go through each one of these parameters, because that's really time consuming. But like I say, the letterprinting.net people will help you tremendously, as well as the user guide. So we want to review an existing order. So when I have my CSV file together each week of all the people we want to contact, we come in and we'll come into this screen, which will help us calculate. So all these parameters are already preset. You know, we say we want the bleeding, the perforation services, no perforation, paper stock, you know, white. We want it front. We want to have a mail merge. I mean, all of these parameters are already preset once you do one single order. And so it makes it extremely, extremely easy. So as you can see, our last order was 400. Now, if we change this number to 390, you'll see that it automatically calculates how much is going to be $378.28 for, you know, 390 letters. So that's less than $1 per letter. And we found that to be extremely beneficial and cost effective, because it saves us so much time. They're going to print the neutral letters for you. They're going to put them in the envelopes. They're going to put the stamps on them and mail them out. And so the next step would be, I'm just going to add that to my cart, and we'll move on. And we you can review your order again, and then you can, you can move next to the checkout. It's got a couple orders in here, but I'm just showing this for demonstration. So you do have to go through a series of screens where your names will come up of your company and your address, and you just simply agree to their terms and conditions. You go to continue, and here is where you will see shipping's not required. A lot of these screens I don't have to make any changes to. I don't want to add a new shipping address. I want them to ship it to the people that whose address shows up. So I just hit continue. And here we go. They're going to drop it at the mail post office. They're going to drop each of these letters at the post office. And I hit continue. And here is where I can nickname my orders. And that's up to you. That's optional. That's not anything necessary. But if you just want to keep track one order from the other, you can just put in a little nickname, Arnett number 1, whatever makes sense to you. If you want to add any additional instructions, which I normally do, I add some instructions each week, and I want to make sure you see those. So each week, and I'll explain why I add these particular instructions each week, but I place in here this instruction each week, and it says, please check all ORD ID transactions. 3 total. There are 3 total ORD ID translations, 2 on the neutral letter and 1 on the envelope. And I'll explain to you that order ID. This is the reference ID that if someone calls you and says, yes, I want to, I'll sell you my property, you want them to have this order ID number, because it's a unique number that will identify them in the system, in your Investment Dominator system. So we have that instruction, and I'll explain why we put that particular instruction as we go forward. So the next step is to take my credit card, and obviously we're not going to get on into that step so that you see all my credit card information. But once we get to this point here, you're basically ready to submit your order. And there are 3 pieces of documentation that go with them. First, you're going to have the master template, which is a PDF file of your actual neutral letter. And this is kind of what it looks like right here. And you can see that there are certain parameters that they are going to automatically fill. Actually, this is done through an Investment Dominator, that all this information gets filled as your neutral letters get produced in Investment Dominator. And here's that order ID, because this is the reference number when the customer calls you back and says, yes, I want to look at selling you my property. You're going to ask for this reference number here. And this is just the way it's already been set up. We didn't change this neutral letter. So you see you have your person's name or the company name and your information, and it'll already have your signature on here. And this is a piece of information that you will send letterprinting.net to make sure that all your neutral letters get sent out. And then the next one you will send them is obviously an Excel spreadsheet that will have all of the individuals that you want. And this also was produced in the Investment Dominator, and it has the order ID number over here, unique order ID number in this column. So this was produced out of Investment Dominator. That's what I'm telling you. This is just a very powerful CRM that allows you to really organize your business and makes your life easy. Each week I create one of these files, and then finally the third piece of information I'm going to send is the envelope, what I want to go on the envelope of each letter that goes out to letterprinting.net that they send out to our customers. And again, here's that order ID. And I will show you exactly why we put those instructions on our order every single week. So these are the 3 pieces of information that will go out to letterprinting.net. They will mail those letters out, and normally, like if I were to submit an order today, being Thursday, they'll send me back what they call a proof. And here's an example of the email that you would receive from letterprinting.net that has you to review and DocuSign. This will come back to you in an email, and you'll simply say, I want to review my documents. And here is the proof that you'll see from letterprinting.net. And now when it comes back originally, I've already signed this one. This will not be signed. It won't have my full name here. As a matter of fact, let me give myself a little help here. Yeah, I won't have my full name here. I won't have my signature. So that will have to be added, but you only want to do that after you've investigated and made sure that all the fields and information has been translated properly on your neutral letters. And for some reason, I don't understand what would happen from one week to the next, but this order ID, this reference number, they would normally catch it right here, but they might miss it here. So this field would not be, this other order ID field would not be populated. They would have this first one, but they wouldn't have the second one. And then finally, they would have the third one would appear on the envelope. So that's why my instructions to them said specifically, check, let's see, let me put it back up again. It said specifically, check all order ID translations. There are 3 in total. There's an order ID translations, there's 2 on the neutral letter, and there's 1 on the envelope. So I would share with them, okay, make sure you guys check that. And once I put those instructions into letterprinting.net, this has been coming back. I mean, 98% of the time, it's right on the money. They do it perfectly. The order ID shows up because this is what the customer is going to use to reference this neutral letter when they call you back saying they want to sell you their property. So it's very important that that take place there. Okay, that's how, if I were an individual that doesn't have time to stuff envelopes, I would definitely employ letterprinting.net. Once you get used to the process, I'm telling you, it saves you so much time. So I don't want to go any further with that. If there's any questions regarding that particular segment around letterprinting.net, I'd be happy to entertain them now. And let me see if any have come in. Let's see, the older owner will call. And okay. Okay.
Hey Warren, some of these I can, if you want, I can answer, like the old Ron's question there.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ron was asking, what happens when an old owner calls in and asks for an offer? What happened to us? We got the old data from AGENTPRO. Okay, so in this case, what Ron is saying is he got a list from AGENTPRO, and it contains some old owner information, and the old owner called in, wants an offer, but it's since been sold. So I mean, at the time you actually accept offers, I mean, a lot of Jack students, they're using a call center like Pat Live, or even if you take the calls yourself, you would probably just process the call like you would any other call. So at the time that they call, you wouldn't know if they're an old owner or not. It's only till you get the property in that pending preliminary research stage where you actually, and this might be a couple of days after you talk to the person on the phone, because when you sit down to do the actual, your offers, it's probably in a set time. It might be a couple of days later. That's when you're going to find out that that person doesn't own the property anymore. You're going to update the owner, and you're going to information in Investment Dominator, and then you'll probably give that person a call that called you and just say, hey, I just realized that it's not even under your name anymore, and you can ask them, what the story is around that. So I think initially you're not really going to do much. You're just going to take the call like you would normally, but then when you get into that pending preliminary research, that's one of the very few things that you have to do to verify. I mean, in that stage, you're really only verifying a couple things. You're verifying that this property exists, that it's land, that it has a value. You want to determine the value, and you want to determine who the owner is. So it's very few amounts of information that you want to do there, but it's very important that you do it in that stage. I think that answers that question.
Okay. Great. Okay. I see we have quite a few questions coming in here today.
Yeah, the question about is it Bizarre, or I'm sure how to pronounce your name, but let's see, you want to add the signature to a custom document. Let me show you my screen on that real quick, and I will let you know how to quickly do that. So if you guys see my screen, you're talking about a custom document. So it's always going to be under the customize, and then you're going to go to the custom documents. Okay. Now let's say that we're gonna create a new letter here. So add document, and it's going to be out to landowners, and then it'll be a PDF and probably a letter going out to prospects. So my custom letter. Okay, so you want to use merge fields as much as possible. You could add a image, upload an image with your signature. That's not recommended. What you would rather do is you type out your letter, and you want to use these merge fields here. Okay, so insert merge field. So let me just put in the caller first name, which is used in the import, and then I want to buy your land, and then you're going to put in your signature right here. Now, again, you could import an image. I would not recommend that. It's actually very slow if you do that. But what I would recommend that you do is you come over here to the merge fields, and you do your signature, okay? And it just puts a little tag in here, and it doesn't look like much in this view, but when you actually generate the document, what it's going to do is it's going to pull from your signature that you set under your profile, okay? So, which is also great if you ever change your signature in the future. And then you can actually set the signature image pretty easily nowadays. We only used to have this option to upload a signature, which may be easy or hard depending on your skills on the computer. But we also have this easier option nowadays where you can just generate a signature, and you just type in your name, that's my name, and then I just select something that looks. This actually comes out way better than my actual signature. So you can actually insert that and update it, and then whenever you use that merge field on a custom document, it's going to use the signature that you've generated. If you want your own signature, you can put it in there. But I do want to say one thing about the signature. We never print your signature, this signature right here, on any of the contracts in the system. We have you review and sign them yourself. The signature that we use in the Investment Dominator is always going to be serve a marketing purposes. So it's going to be on your marketing material. So having said that, we're perfectly fine sending out a marketing letter with not a real signature as long as it looks like a signature. So I want to kind of make that distinction, because a lot of people think like, oh, this signature looks nothing like my real signature. So what happens when we get to the closing table? And you're perfectly fine there, because you're talking about 2 different time periods, and a lot of times you're a few weeks, if not more, in between the time that they see your marketing piece to the time that you get to the closing table. So nobody remembers what this signature is versus my actual signature. And on the closing paperwork, you actually need your actual signature. So hopefully that answers that question.
Okay.
Got another one there, Warren?
Yeah, we do. We have another question here from Edith regarding our letter printing. So when you also use letter printing for sending out offers, do you have a possibility to customize a bigger envelope, neutral letter or smaller envelope is used? And you might have some more insight on that, Alex. We standard, I've been able to use a standard envelope, but I think you can change it in your parameters. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can with letterprinting.net. Although here's the one thing that I would say, because I think you said offer. Did you say offer or did you say neutral letter? Because
it's when sending out offers.
Okay, so offers is a different story.
Yes.
So I would probably not recommend that you use letterprinting.net for offers. I know some students do that, but I wouldn't do that myself. I would only use letterprinting.net for your marketing pieces, your initial letter. Okay, so and for that you can choose whatever envelope you want. They even have like handwritten stuff and all this kind of weird stuff. We don't do any of that. The only thing that we might do if we're in a really nice county and we want to improve our open rates is we actually might choose the option in letterprinting.net to use a linen envelope, which is going to cost you a lot more, but it does get a higher open rate and a higher callback rate. So we might spend the money for that. We definitely don't do that in a new area that we're just trying to test. Just the regular standard envelopes is what we use. Now, when you get to the offer, though, and which is what the question is, I think you do, I know you have the option in letterprinting.net to use a bigger envelope. We've actually done not an offer campaign, but a marketing campaign with a bigger envelope just for testing. And so that's perfectly fine. That's an option that you can set up with them. The Investment Dominator will not generate a template for that because we don't use that nor recommend it. What we do generate as far as the offer is concerned is a label. Okay, so if you're going under our documents over here, we actually ourselves, we would send out, and let me move a couple of records over into the pending preliminary research stage, because this is where you make your offers. So when you get to the offer stage here, we need to have some offer amounts. Give me a second. So I'm going to do offer requests, and then I'm going to set some offer amounts just so we can pull some up here. And then we're going to go to generate documents. Okay, so now when you get here, you notice that we have labels. Okay, so because we'll either use a big manila envelope, or we'll use like a half size. I think it's is it 9 by 6, I think, or a 9 by 11 is what we'll use for our offers. And either one, we print a label on it and we put it on the envelope. But if you're getting a company to do it, there's actually, in that case, there's another company that you might want to check out. It's Click to Mail, and it's not just their regular service. Let me Google it for a second. You're looking for Click to Mail. Actually, it's the number 2. Mail, and then email to mail. This is what I would check out if I were you. Where you can actually just email your data over to this company, and they will send out an offer, for you. So you might want to check into that if you want to automate that step. A lot of times, like I said, if you send out 1,000 letters, you might get 200 offers that you have to make. So you're not making offers on the 1,000 letters or 1,000 people. you just want to keep that in mind. So usually on those, we generate those in-house on our printers in our office, and review them and sign them and send them out. So especially if you're kind of don't have a huge operation, I would definitely recommend that.
Excellent. Good job. Thank you, Alex. We did have another question here from Bert. He said, how can I re-enter a record to edit it? I've only been able to delete the entire record and re-enter all the information with corrected info, which takes additional time instead of just making the changes needed. And if you're talking about your land records, let's see. Alex, you want to use your screen, or I can use my screen here? Okay. If you're talking about your land records, it's quite easy. See, I have these prospect. I also have this pending preliminary research, which is one of my
show screen there, Warren.
Oh, so sorry. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I think that must have gone when we changed presenters, huh? You probably went to yours. In any case, here we are, pending preliminary research, and I am able to go right over here associated with this particular record, and I can hit edit. Now I can delete this record if necessary, but that is very time consuming to have to delete your record and re-enter all this information newly. So I just go into edit. And here we are in edit mode, and I can scroll down and I can add any additional information that I want. And it's usually, make sure you check that you're in the right record by looking at the parcel number, because I have had individuals with similar names or the same name, and I've gone in to edit the record thinking that I knew this was the correct individual. And it found out that I was actually working with a different parcel number altogether because the name, John Smith, okay, I had a couple of John Smiths in there. So make sure you check that. But here you can edit anything anything you need to edit. You can add notes. This is a cool feature that has been added to the Investment Dominator, where you can add multiple notes. But I can just add any data in here I want, and I add it. And then if I need to add additional notes, I can just come in and I can add another note, so I have a couple of different notes on that. But in any case, once you make your changes to any of your records, you can, even from the bottom of the screen, you just hit update record, and it automatically updates, record has been updated, updates every field that you made changes to. So, Bert, that's the quickest and the best way to update records, and definitely you don't have to delete and then re-enter all of that information newly. I'm going to stay on this screen here. We had a skip tracing question. And for those of you that may be brand new and don't know, skip tracing is simply, when you send out one of your neutral letters comes back, so you've sent out, or letterprinting.net or whoever has sent out letters to individuals that you want to purchase their property. They've come back returned to sender. So the address is basically not known. You can take the time and try to find the person's address, but the question is, with skip tracing, if you have a Regus Office, I believe that's spelled Regus Office, would this be acceptable with TLO? Now, I have not used a TLO like TLO XP. I have not used that type of service, but this is a skip tracing service. And a Regus Office, from what I understand, are offices where you can have temporary meetings, temporary meeting spaces. So if I were a businessman traveling from California, and I want to travel to Detroit, and I want to have a business office set up with all the internet capability, etc., I could have a Regus office set up there for a temporary period of time. You can use it for meetings, for training, interviewing, or any type of need that you have, that business need that you have. And so to answer your question, if you have a Regus office, would this be acceptable with TLO? TLO, I do understand, has a big security requirement. So they want information that you're going to be using or looking at, they want it secure. So the question is that you should check with whoever is going to be doing your skip tracing, get their requirements, because we think that the only requirement there is that you have an office that you can lock. You actually may need to lock the office, or that may be one of their requirements. And also you may need a filing cabinet that you can also lock. So make sure you get their requirements on your skip tracing, their security for the information they're going to be, sharing, or that might be on file with because they go out and they check, thousands, hundreds of thousands of records of individuals' addresses that may need to be updated so that they can give you the right address for your sender or for your customer. So that's really all we know of, or that's all I know anyway about that particular aspect, or with the Regus office and the TLO. Okay, and I think we have time. We have time for a couple more questions. I can see quite a few questions that have come in, and we're really glad about this. What we're going to do, if we don't get them answered on the call today, I will be researching and I will have them ready for our next call. And the one question came in. It's another Craigslist question that came in. And I don't have a lot of background on the call rail for Craigslist phone verification, but the question is, can you use Craigslist or call rail for Craigslist phone verification? And basically, what this is speaking of is on your call rail is, from what I understand, a tracking software that businesses can basically get a complete picture of their marketing performance. You can look at certain phone calls that they track, certain phone calls, and you want to track these phone calls to specific campaigns or channels or keywords so that you kind of get an idea of what's working for you best in terms of your marketing. That's kind of in a nutshell what I understand call rail does. So I don't really know a lot about call rail, but in terms of can you use call rail for Craigslist phone verification, we have not tried to do that at this point. But from what the answer was given is that this should still be a digital line with Craigslist, and that you can still verify it. But you can, someone that's interested could test that. And we here with the Jack Bosch organization, we use call rail just to test different marketing channels. For example, our Craigslist ads may have a different call rail number than our Facebook marketing ads. So we can track what results come from the different marketing channels. And that hopefully will give you an idea of how you can use your call rail and for Craigslist phone verification. And folks, I think that's just getting down to where we're running out of time here. But we want you to continue to send in your questions and definitely be on our calls. We have our calls each week. We're having 2 calls a week right now, and just want to make sure you know. You can go to this weekly live Q&A training calls, and most of you have already registered. You can register for the calls here, and if you want to see the replays, these are all recorded calls. So we had one on Monday, and you can see it's listed here. Give us a couple of days. Today's Thursday. We try to have the call up at least by Saturday time frame. At the very latest Monday, but we'll try to get it up there by Saturday. and you can go and review any of this information that you found valuable on this call. And we do appreciate your participation, and just want to leave you with a thought. And before I do that, Alex, you want to share anything before we sign off here?
No, I think we're good. I just wanted to let everybody know we do see the other questions, so we will definitely answer them in the beginning of the next call. Okay, but till then, thanks everyone.
Absolutely. Okay, so just leave you with this thought. The price of success is simply hard work, dedication to the job at hand, and the determination that whether we win or lose, we have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand. So the price of success is simply hard work, dedication to the job at hand, and determination that whether we win or lose, we have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand. And that's from Vince Lombardi. I want you to go out there and be successful, continue to work hard, and you'll see many profits from this business. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great day and a wonderful remainder of the week. Take care now.